The enemy sniper team had operated in the Colombian cloud forest for 3 weeks, killing coalition forces with impunity. 7 confirmed kills, maybe more. Professional shooters who knew the terrain, understood wind patterns, and never stayed in one position long enough to be targeted. Command said they were unstoppable. Then Adeline Carter arrived, studied the kill pattern for 20 minutes, and told her team leader she'd handle it. 12 minutes later, all 4 enemy snipers were dead. Adeline Carter had been a Navy SEAL sniper for 9 years when she deployed to the disputed border region between Colombia and Venezuela. The mountainous wilderness was controlled by paramilitary groups, drug cartels, and insurgent forces where normal warfare rules dissolved into ambush and the constant threat of long-range sniper fire. The region was ideal sniper country, rolling green mountains covered in dense cloud forest where constant mist clung to slopes thick with vegetation. Steep ravines cut through terrain covered in moss, ferns, and trees draped with epiphytes. Remote villages built from concrete and corrugated metal clung to hillsides, their inhabitants caught between multiple armed groups. Ancient pre-Columbian stone terraces, remnants of indigenous civilizations, dotted the landscape offering commanding views of the valleys below. Every ridge offered firing positions. Every valley was a potential kill zone. The thick cloud forest allowed skilled operators to move unseen between positions, the constant mist providing natural concealment. The terrain was so complex that aerial surveillance was nearly useless. Thermal imaging couldn't penetrate the forest canopy and mist, and the countless stone terraces and structures created hundreds of potential sniper hides that would take weeks to clear. Coalition forces had been operating for 2 months, trying to disrupt cartel operations. The mission was supposed to be advisory, not direct combat. But the enemy sniper team changed everything. 3 weeks ago, a Marine advisor was killed by a single shot at 800 meters. 2 days later, a Colombian Special Forces soldier at 600 meters. Over the next 2 weeks, 5 more coalition personnel fell to long-range precision fire. Different locations, different ranges, but always the same. Single shot, perfect placement. Shooter never located. The coalition response was predictable: increased security, armored vehicles, counter-sniper operations. But the enemy adapted. Faster, they never used the same position twice, never took shots exposing them to counterfire, and operated across 40 square kilometers of mountain terrain. SEAL Team 5, Delta Platoon was brought in specifically for the sniper problem. Adeline was assigned as primary precision marksman, working with Lieutenant Jake Morrison, Chief Petty Officer Ryan Torres as spotter, and Petty Officer Marcus Webb on security. After 4 days studying the pattern, Morrison laid out the situation. During a morning briefing, "Intel thinks we're dealing with 4 shooters working as a coordinated team. Multiple kills on the same day at locations 5 to 10 kilometers apart. These guys are professional, patient, and know this terrain better than we do." The briefing was interrupted by gunfire, the distinctive crack of a high-powered rifle echoing across the valley. A Colombian patrol had been hit. 8 kills now. That afternoon, Adeline studied topographic maps, correlating them with kill locations and weather data. "They're not random," she said, pointing at the map. "Look at the kill locations. They all happen between 0500 and 0900 hours. On western slopes when the sun puts them in shadow while targets are in brighter light." Torres leaned in. "So they're working from positions giving them shadow for concealment while targets are in brighter light. More than that," Adeline continued. "These 3 ridges form a rough triangle. 1 shooter on each ridge, 1 floating between positions. You'd have overlapping fields of fire covering most of the valley. They're positioned where we have to eventually appear. So we either avoid them or hit them preemptively," Morrison sighed. "Or we bait them," Adeline replied. "They're patient, but getting bolder." This morning's shot was 900 meters, longer range than their previous kills. "They're getting comfortable, maybe even cocky. If we give them a target, they can't resist. At a location where we control the terrain, we can identify their positions and eliminate them." Webb looked skeptical. You want to use someone as bait for snipers who haven't missed a shot in 3 weeks? I want to make them think we're exposed when we're actually the ones setting the ambush, Adeline explained. They're used to shooting at people who don't know they're being observed. Let's see how they do when they're the ones being hunted. Morrison considered it carefully. You'd need perfect positioning, perfect timing, perfect execution. These guys are professionals who've survived decades of warfare. Adeline met his eyes steadily. So have I. The plan came together over 8 hours of detailed preparation. They'd identified a valley 6 kilometers north of the base where 3 previous kills had occurred. Natural choke point where coalition patrols had to pass when moving between 2 positions. The valley was surrounded by 4 ridgelines at different elevations and distances. If I was setting up sniper positions to cover this valley, Adeline explained during planning, I'd put shooters on these 2 ridges west and northeast. They're at optimal range, 700 to 900 meters. They have good sight lines to the valley floor and covered withdrawal routes behind them. The other 2 ridges are either too close or too far for ideal engagement range. They'd refine the plan throughout the afternoon and evening. Element 1 would move into position before dawn Adeline to a concealed location on the southern ridge overlooking the valley with Torres as her spotter. Morrison and Webb positioned with communications and security 200 meters behind Adeline's position. At dawn, a Colombian patrol volunteers who understood the risk would move through the valley on a predictable route, appearing to be a normal patrol conducting routine operations. The patrol would be wearing body armor that made them look like legitimate targets, but they'd be moving in patterns designed to minimize actual risk. If the enemy snipers took the bait and engaged, Adeline would have approximately 2 to 4 seconds between when they fired and when they realized they were being observed. In that window, she'd need to locate them, range them, and engage before they could relocate. 4 snipers, unknown exact positions across 2 ridgelines covering 2 kilometers of terrain. Torres had summarized during final planning. You'll need to identify and engage all of them before they realize they're compromised and withdraw. If even one escapes, they'll adapt their tactics and we'll be back to square one. Adeline checked her rifle and accuracy International AXMC in .338 Lapua Magnum, customized for her preferences with a Schmidt and Bender 5 to 25x scope that she'd zeroed. Herself entrusted completely. Then I won't let any of them escape. They moved into position at 0330 hours, hiking through darkness using night vision, moving slowly and carefully to avoid any noise that might alert enemy observation posts. The cloud forest was alive with sound whine through trees, distant dogs barking in villages, the occasional vehicle on a far-off road, howler monkeys calling in the distance. But human movement created different sounds, and they couldn't afford to announce their presence. Adeline's chosen position was in a cluster of large boulders and thick brush on the southern ridge, approximately 850 meters from the valley floor, where the Colombian patrol would move. The position offered concealment from observation, protection from return fire, and clear sight lines to both suspected enemy positions on the western and northeastern ridges at 1,150 and 1,300 meters. She'd set up her rifle with careful precision. Bipod positioned on stable ground, rear support bag adjusted for perfect level. Scope eye relief checked, bolt operation verified smooth. 5 rounds loaded with more in easy reach. Torres set up beside her with spotting scope and laser rangefinder. They'd waited as the sky gradually lightened from black to gray to the pale blue of early morning. The valley below remained in shadow while the mountain peaks caught the first sunlight. Birds began calling. The mountains woke slowly. At 0615 hours, the Colombian patrol entered the valley. 6 soldiers moving in tactical formation, weapons ready, appearing alert but not paranoid. Perfect bait, Adeline glassed the suspected enemy positions through her scope. The western ridge was approximately 1,100 meters away across the valley. The northeastern ridge was about 1,300 meters at a different angle. Both were within her effective range, but they were challenging shots long distance across valleys with variable winds. against targets who would be concealed and would only expose themselves for seconds at a time. No movement on West Ridge, Torres whispered, scanning with his spotting scope. Wait. Thermal signature in that rocky outcrop at 1,150 meters. Too warm to be a rock, wrong shape to be an animal. I see it, Adeline confirmed, adjusting her scope to that location. Through the magnification, she'd identified what Torres had seen, the faint outline of a human figure concealed in rocks, only visible as slight variation in shadow and texture that human eyes trained to spot such things could detect. Northeast Ridge, second location, Torres continued. 1,280 meters, that cluster of trees at the ridgeline. Another thermal signature, different position. Adeline shifted aim, found the second location. Another sniper, this one concealed in vegetation, barely visible even with magnification. That's two, she breathed. Scanning for the third and fourth, they continued glassing the ridgelines as the Colombian patrol moved through the valley below, deliberately exposing themselves in patterns designed to draw fire. Got three, Torres said. West Ridge again, different position, 1,050 meters, that stone terrace ruin. Thermal signature in the elevated section. Adeline found him partially concealed in an ancient pre-Columbian stone terrace. Rifle barrel barely visible extending from behind stone walls. Still looking for four, Torres continued, scanning below in the valley. The Colombian patrol had reached the center of the kill zone, the area where previous patrols had been hit. They paused there, making themselves obvious targets. Contact, Torres hissed. West Ridge primary. I saw muzzle movement. He's about to. The crack of a rifle shot echoed across the valley. In the Colombian patrol, one soldier stumbled and went down. His body armor had caught the round, but the impact knocked him flat. Adeline had already been on target. The moment the enemy sniper fired, his muzzle blast created a small but visible signature, a puff of dust, a momentary flash. She saw his position clearly now. West Ridge, primary target. 1,150 meters, wind left to right at 8 miles per hour. Elevation angle -15 degrees, Torres called rapidly. Send it, he confirmed. Adeline had already been squeezing the trigger. The rifle recoiled smoothly against her shoulder. Through the scope, she watched the impact. The target jerked and slumped clearly. Hit, West Ridge primary, Torres confirmed. Transitioning, a second crack from across the valley. The sniper in the stone terrace had fired at the Colombian patrol. Adeline had already been shifting to that position. Her second shot was in the air 4 seconds after her first. The .338 Lapua Magnum round crossed 1,050 meters in approximately 1.3 seconds, struck the stone terrace where the enemy sniper was positioned. Hit, West Ridge secondary, Torres confirmed. 2 down, Northeast Ridge position, he's relocating. Adeline swung her rifle to the northeastern ridge. The sniper there had realized something was wrong. His 2 teammates on the western ridge had both been hit within seconds. He was pulling back from his position, trying to withdraw, but moving meant exposing himself. Adeline caught him in transition, partially visible against the tree line as he low-crawled backward, northeast, 1,280 meters. Moving target, wind variable. Torres called. Adeline led the target slightly, accounting for his movement speed and direction, squeezed the trigger, watched through her scope as the round found its mark. Hit, northeast position, Torres confirmed. That's 3. Where's 4? That was the question. Intel said 4 snipers. They'd identified 3. Where was the 4th? Adeline had been scanning, looking for any sign of the last shooter. The enemy team had been smart. They'd positioned their shooters to cover different sectors with overlapping fields of fire. 3 positions accounted for. Where would a 4th logically be? Check South Ridge, she said suddenly. If I wanted a reserve position that could cover the others, Morrison's voice crackled over the radio from their security position. Contact. Shooter on our ridge, 400 meters east of your position. He's engaging the Colombian patrol from our side. That was tactically brilliant. The 4th sniper hadn't been positioned to cover the valley like the others. He'd been positioned to cover the most likely counter-sniper position exactly where Adeline was. He'd been hunting the hunters. "He doesn't know we're here yet," Torres said urgently. "He's focused on the valley, range 420 meters. Same ridge as us, elevation roughly equal." Adeline had already been moving, shifting her position and rifle to face east along their own ridge. At 420 meters, she spotted him concealed in brush, rifle aimed down at the valley. Unaware that another sniper was 400 meters behind him on the same ridge, this shot was different. Shorter range, but along the length of the ridge rather than across valleys, meaning any error would be magnified by the shallow angle. And the target would realize he was being engaged the moment she fired. If she missed, he'd return fire immediately, and they'd be in a close-range sniper duel. 420 meters, no wind, slight downward angle, Torres confirmed unnecessarily. At this range, Adeline didn't need a spotter, but the confirmation was part of their practiced routine. Adeline settled the crosshairs on the target's center mass, controlled her breathing, and squeezed. The rifle fired at 420 meters, the .338. Lapua round arrived almost instantly. Through the scope, Adeline saw the impact. The target jerked violently and collapsed. "Hit," Torres confirmed. 4 targets, 4 kills, all enemy snipers down. The entire engagement from first shot to last had taken 12 minutes. Morrison's voice came over the radio. "Element 1, confirm all threats neutralized." "Confirmed," Adeline responded. 4. "Enemy snipers eliminated. Valley is clear." There was a pause on the radio, then, "Outstanding work. Hold position for BDA." Battle damage assessment. They'd need to confirm the kills and identify the enemy snipers over the next hour. Coalition quick reaction forces moved to the 4 sniper positions. The battle damage assessment confirmed what Adeline already knew. 4 enemy snipers, all dead from precision rifle fire. All killed within a 12-minute window. The identification was interesting. 3 of the 4 were indeed Venezuelan military deserters, as intelligence had suspected. Experienced mountain warfare specialists in their 30s and 40s who'd fought counterinsurgency operations in the Andes. The 4th, the one who'd been positioned to hunt counter-snipers, was a former Colombian Army sniper instructor who'd apparently gone rogue and joined the cartels. Their equipment was professional grade. Austrian-made Steyr SSGO 8 precision rifles in .338 Lapua Magnum high-end. Optics, quality rangefinders, professional-level field gear. These hadn't been militia fighters with old rifles. These had been trained professionals with proper equipment, and Adeline had eliminated all 4 in 12 minutes of engagement time. The SEAL team commander, a captain named Mitchell, flew to their forward position that afternoon to personally debrief the operation. He studied the engagement map showing the 4 sniper positions and the 4 kill shots Adeline had made. 12 minutes from first shot to last, Mitchell said, his tone carrying genuine respect. 4 targets at ranges from 420 to 1,280 meters, across complex mountain terrain, all first-round hits. That's exceptional marksmanship under pressure. They were professionals, Adeline replied, but they got comfortable. They'd been successful for 3 weeks, and nobody had threatened them. They positioned to hunt us, but didn't expect someone hunting them at the same time. The whisper around. The base is that these snipers were unstoppable, Mitchell continued. The Marines were calling them ghosts. The Colombians thought they were cursed. Everyone was afraid to operate in this valley. They were stoppable, Adeline said simply. They were just people. Skilled people, experienced people, but people. You study their pattern, predict their positions, get in place first, and execute when they expose themselves. Mitchell smiled slightly. Easy as that? The concept is simple. The execution is harder, but that's why we train. Over the next 2 weeks, Element 1 conducted 3 more operations. Adeline made 7 more confirmed kills at ranges from 650 to 1,100 meters, each time eliminating threats pinning down friendly forces. 3 weeks later, back in the United States, Adeline was offered positions as an advanced sniper instructor and a specialized Assignment with Joint Special Operations Command. She accepted both. Over the next 4 years, she'd conduct operations in 17 countries, eliminate 47 high-value targets at ranges from 400 to 1,800 meters, and earn a reputation as someone who could solve problems no other way. But she'd always remember the Colombian cloud forests and the 12 minutes that defined her career when 4 professional enemy snipers learned a fundamental truth: no matter how good you are, there's always someone better. And comfort is what gets you killed. Years later, teaching advanced sniper courses, she'd tell students about the operation. The enemy had 3 weeks of success. They were confident, comfortable, maybe even arrogant. That's what created the opportunity. The moment you get comfortable as a sniper is the moment you're most vulnerable. She'd pause, looking at the young faces. When I'm deployed, I never get comfortable. Every position might be observed. Every shot might expose me. I assume someone is always hunting me and plan accordingly. That mindset kept me alive for 9 years. That mindset allowed me to eliminate 4 enemy snipers in 12 minutes while they were still figuring out what was happening. The lesson was always the same. Training beats talent, preparation beats experience. Mindset beats everything. They'd whispered the enemy was unstoppable. She'd proven otherwise. 12 minutes, 4 targets, perfect execution. That was the standard.